Hello there everybody, it is me XFreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today is a very special build because we're actually recreating the house from the movie Parasite. For those of you who haven't seen the movie yet and who are planning to watch it at some point, please do yourself a favor and watch the movie first and come back to the video after you've watched it, because this video will contain spoilers. Trust me, the less you know coming into it, the better, because that's what happened to me and I was kind of blown away, not gonna lie. Anyway, this video is actually split into two parts. This is the first part in this two-part speed build. Initially, I wasn't making it into a multiple part speed build, but I have been procrastinating on this video for weeks now, so I decided to just get this first part up and the next one should follow in a couple of days, so please keep an eye out for that as well. In this first part, we're gonna be pretty much building the entire exterior of this house, and we're also going to be furnishing the ground level of this house as well. So yeah, also before I forget, this build does use CC. I did try to build it without CC and that kind of drove me crazy, so I decided to just use some free CC from Felixandre and from Harrie. Well, mostly free CC because I did use one set that is for Felixandre Patreon only. So you guys, if you want this build to look exactly the way it does, you might want to consider becoming a patron. Even if it's only for like 1 month, you can choose that set. I think I used the Art Deco set from last year. I will put a link to all of the CC that I used, but mostly I used the bathroom and kitchen set, which are free, and then the Art Deco, which is the only patron only set I used for this build. Anyway, I feel like I would be doing this build a disservice if I didn't give you guys an overview of what the movie is all about. So for the next couple of minutes, that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about. So yes, Parasite is a movie by famous South Korean director Bong Joon-ho. This is actually the third movie of his that I watched. I remember watching The Host a very long time ago, and recently I also watched Okja on Netflix as well. And I knew that he was directing this one, and having that prior knowledge of his work gave me some sort of expectations, and I think this build does have a lot of similarities to his other work and also a lot of unique aspects to it as well. I don't really consider myself a film critic as much as I enjoy watching, film essays on YouTube. I really just came into it, from a more casual perspective, and I still really enjoyed it. I do, however, want to share some thoughts as someone who has an architecture degree and as someone who actually has experience working as an architect. I do want to, share a little bit of that through this build, because the architecture of the movie actually plays a huge part in the story and in the narrative. And I think this is really a successful collaboration between the director and the production designer, because if I remember correctly, they actually had detailed floor plans of the house, and the director was really hands-on in how the house itself was built and how the house itself really played a role in the narrative of the story. So anyway, just a quick recap of this story. Parasite is basically a story about social inequality. It tells the story of different families from different social backgrounds. The story starts off with the Kim family, who are a family living in poverty, and one of their children, their son Kevin, finds a job as a tutor for this rich family, the Parks, who live in this beautiful house that we're actually trying to recreate now. the Parks are very snobbish and they're also very gullible as well. So when Kevin finds this out, he comes up with a plan to get his whole family working for the Parks. So what they do is that they fake their identities and they get all of their family into the Parks' household staff basically. Now this plan involves basically getting the rest of the staff fired, and one of the staff that they get into conflict with is the house's housekeeper, Mu Wang, who has actually been working in this house for many years. She worked for the house's previous owner, which also happened to be the architect of the house. And Mu Wang is actually kind of knowledgeable when it comes to the house's many secrets. And one of this is the fact that the house does in fact have a secret underground bunker. Basically, a lot of the wealthy families in South Korea have secret bunkers in their house as kind of like insurance in case of a nuclear attack from North Korea. The present owners of the house don't know about this. Only Mu Guang, the housekeeper, knows about this, and she's keeping this a secret because Mu Guang is actually hiding her husband in the house's secret bunker. I know, this is a lot to take in, but basically Mu Guang's husband has a lot of debt, and he's hiding from the debt collectors, and he's been hiding in this bunker for like many years already. And basically this is where the whole conflict begins. Basically there's all of these secrets, all of these hidden agendas, and everyone is fighting to keep their place in this house, which basically leads to the Kims causing the death of Mu Guang, which drives her husband hiding in the bunker crazy. So he basically tries to get revenge on the Kims by pretty much destroying their whole family. That's basically the simplest explanation ever. But like I said earlier in the video, the less you know coming into the movie, the better, because it's so nuanced. It's actually a little bit of a longer movie, but I didn't feel that it was slow paced because every moment was interesting, and it was a really great experience for me, and I'm really glad that my best friends actually convinced me to watch it, because without that I probably wouldn't have. So yeah, basically the way architecture is represented in this movie is that it's kind of like a metaphor that reflects you know, people's social standing in this society. So you know, the Park family live in this beautiful amazing house with all the space you can need, probably way too much space in my opinion. It's got a lot of light, it's got a lot of windows, whereas you know, the Parks, they live in this semi-basement or a cellar basically, which is a house that's mostly underground except for a little window that opens onto the road. And apparently this is supposed to represent the hope for their family, because they're not completely, you know, underground dwellers, and there's still hope for them to move up in society. And of course we have Mu Wang's husband, who live in utter darkness for years in the bunker of this house, who at the very start is kind of presented as like the parasite of this movie, because he's kind of like, you know, benefiting from his like employers, I guess his wife's employers, who don't actually know of his existence. But I think in the end, basically I think for me, everyone is a parasite. You know, the rich people, they, you know, benefit from poor people working from them and, you know, not paying them enough to, you know, compensate them for all of the hard work that they do. Also the poor people, obviously they kind of take advantage of the gullible rich people, and also the rich people don't really want the poor people to, you know, move up in society. That's a recurring theme throughout the rest of the movie. yeah, I feel like I'm giving you guys such a simplistic explanation of the movie itself, but hopefully it works. Hopefully you guys can somehow get an idea of this whole dynamic. But anyway, I think there's really not much else to say about the movie, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the build itself. Like I said earlier in the video, it took me weeks to build this, and that's mainly because it's a pretty complicated house, to be fair. And you guys know me, I am such a perfectionist, so coming into this I really wanted to be kind of as accurate to the movie as I can. And I'm really happy with how the end result came together. This is a really important wall, by the way, and these are just placeholders. I will replace these with some custom paintings that I'm planning to use, because I'm planning to make a whole family and just take pictures of them and use that as the wall decorations on that wall, because that was a pretty important wall, by the way. But yeah, the house itself is really beautiful. Just from a technical perspective, you know, regardless of its role in the movie, I gotta say it's a beautiful contemporary minimalist house. Very excessive even for Korean standards. Based on my research, even a lot of the wealthy people in Korea don't live like that. But I think it's a little bit of a hyperbole, I guess, to really, you know, establish their wealth of the Park family. And yeah, for the living room, I would say it's a pretty basic space. There's really not much going on there. It's way too spacious in my opinion. But one thing that is noticeable in the living room is the fact that there's really no TV. Instead, the sofa faces the picture window that overlooks the yard of the house, which is such a luxury in South Korea, in Seoul, which has very limited space for such areas in a house. And also one notable feature of the living room as well is the painting, which is actually a reference from another movie by Bong Joon-ho, which I haven't seen yet. But that painting, I wanted it to look built in, so I actually put it in the basement. You guys saw it earlier, probably as I was doing it. It had to be placed underground because it was an enlarged painting and it was meant to look like it was built into that. Moving on to the dining room, once again pretty simple. I had just made some custom lights above the dining table, and I also did like some sort of a custom dining table as well by combining different items as well. But I would say one of the most striking features of this house are these like china cabinets that are so iconic. Like, they have this orange light that illuminates the background, and I think it's kind of like a humble brag for the Parks to, you know, they live in this amazing minimalist house, and then they have these really like over-the-top showcase cabinets for their china. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a humble brag, because look at all of these expensive china that we have, and they're so in your face. And yeah, hopefully I was able to capture that. And here we are now working on the kitchen, and it's a pretty basic kitchen. There's quite a lot of clutter in here as well, and I am making use of the kitchen set by my good friend Harrie and Felixandre. They did such a good job with this actually, and I'm really happy that I decided to use CC for this one, because I feel like it just really made the build. Luckily, there's a lot of resources online for, you know, production designs on the movie, so I did find some floor plans and a lot of production stills from the movie, so I did get a pretty good idea of what I was working with for the ground floor. I wish I can say the same for the second floor, which you guys will see in the next video, but that one I did have to give myself a little bit more artistic license. But here I'm putting in some ceiling detail. Surprisingly, this still makes the build functional, and yeah, I'm really happy with how this ceiling pieces came together actually. But I think this is actually going to be it for this build. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up my commentary right here. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. You all have an awesome day, and I will see you guys in part 2 coming real soon. Bye bye.